The MCU is in a state of disaster, with the latest phase being a very expensive failure so far, and future projects don't seem to be garnering any hype, but now there's a rumor circulating stemming from the Arrowverse creator that the MCU is going to be completely rebooted. I have a few things to show off, but before we get into the topic, if you enjoy the content that I create, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. Follow me on social media so you can see when my content is posted. And of course, if you do really enjoy the videos and live streams I create, consider becoming a Dark Titan via Patreon or a supporter via YouTube memberships. So starting off with this Fandom Wire article, it says they will end up pruning the tree. The Arrowverse creator claims Kevin Feige is planning to reboot the $29 billion MCU with Avengers 6. Now, I think we've all truly been waiting for a full MCU reboot because they've teased it. They've attempted it a little bit. Of course, older characters that we know and love have slowly been phased out. The Thors, the Iron Mans, the Captain Americas for, either new versions of them, like with Captain America, or just straight up replacements of characters entirely. But we've kind of been waiting for a full-on reboot, and I think a lot of us know that it can't work because there's no way they could, cast a new Iron Man. They couldn't cast a new Thor. People would be rioting. People would not be happy. But at the same time, while they've tried almost minor reboots, it's never worked, but it sounds like it's getting pretty serious behind the scenes. So it says, in an interview, Mark Guggenheim, known for creating the Arrowverse, gave his blunt opinion that the MCU has to be rebooted entirely if they want to make it better again. Comparing phases 4 and 5 to the initial 3 phases of the MCU, he thinks that the upcoming Avengers Secret War is actually a hard reboot of the $29 billion franchise. We don't know much of Secret Wars, what is going to happen by that point in the MCU, but I definitely do agree that they've got to do something big and drastic, and they're going to have to do it relatively soon because they have definitely gone in the MCU direction, and it has not worked. I think they really believed that, She-Hulks, that Captain Marvels, even that Gia in Secret Invasion would be kind of the next phase of heroes that people would love, and it just hasn't worked. These are not characters that I and many other people want to pay money to see. It's just not working out for them. And while, again, they thought that, strong, independent women were going to be the future of the MCU, it's not going good for them. But it talks about Kevin Feige and him having too much content for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Let's face it, Marvel's Phase 4 of the MCU wasn't exactly the best phase of the cinematic universe. The quality of these movies and series only seemed to deteriorate the further we went down the chaotic multiversal hole. I was originally so excited for the multiverse. I was very hopeful. I am now sad because it was just so awful. But yeah, Kevin Feige has planned years and years in advance because he truly thought, maybe at one point, maybe he doesn't anymore, that there was nothing they could do that would truly hurt or even kill the MCU, but interest is definitely waning. I know that there are a lot of people out there who believe it's bad superhero movies that people are fatigued from, and I do agree. No one wants to see bad superhero movies, but I just think that superhero content in general is something people are growing a little bit tired of. If you look at this right here, even as an MCU fan, I am already tired. As someone who has enjoyed the MCU in the past, I just go, wow, that is very overwhelming. That is a lot of content. Even I am like, they need to take a small step back. And some of these projects might be fantastic. maybe all of them will be trash. We don't really know at this point, but they definitely do not have a good track record right now, and I think that they do need to slow down. If there was half of this amount of content in Phase 5, and it was really high quality, I would probably be happy with that, but unfortunately, you've got a mixture of them trying to push out as much content as possible because they rely so heavily on the MCU for money at this point, and they're trying to, promote as many different actors as they can, and we have heard from people like Bob Iger, right, and even Kevin Feige that they want to focus on quality over quantity, but they haven't proven that yet because there are still so many projects in the works just for Phase 5. And like it says, the Arrowverse creator gave his thoughts on this. I'm like the biggest Marvel nerd ever and I haven't seen Moon Knight. I just can't keep up. There's just too much content. To me, the difference between Phase 4 and Phases 1 through 3 is fundamentally something very simple, which is you could even be watching Infinity War without having seen the prior X number of movies. Which I do agree with. You have to watch so much content now in order to understand what is going on in the MCU. And you used to not have to. Yes, if you were going to watch like a sequel to something, if you were going to watch Iron Man 2 or Iron Man 3, you did need to know what happened really in the first one. But even then, you could piece together what happened in the last one because they would almost do like a sort of recap in the first few minutes to give you a refresher. And it's just not that way anymore. You have layers upon layers, and this does happen with anything that continues for years. I mean, look at MMOs, right? World of Warcraft. It is so hard as a new World of Warcraft player to get into the game because there's so much content. Even other MMOs like Black Desert Online, you have 10 years worth of content. It's going to feel overwhelming for new fans. And even as someone who loved the MCU at one point, it definitely does get to be a bit much. Like if I want to go back and rewatch previous movies, I feel like I have to brush up on things, rewatch maybe another movie before it. And I don't think that a full reboot would necessarily fix that problem because there's no way that they could completely reboot it and ignore the past legacy, ignore the past MCU, but at the same time, I think they were really hoping that, like, Captain Marvel was going to be the reboot of the MCU, right? Because they called her the strongest character in the MCU, and they said that, she's going to bring in this new era. She was the start of, Phase 4 at that point. And they did kind of drop that. Now Gia is the strongest MCU character, and they keep, almost starting a reboot and starting a brand new phase where all of the old characters are out, and then you've got this brand new central character who is supposed to be the strongest and kind of the highlight of the MCU, but it just hasn't worked out. I mean, people are sick and tired of not only, again, bad superhero movies and bad MCU films, but I do feel like there is a bit of general MCU/superhero fatigue in general. I do want to believe that there is a way they could save the MCU if they got really good writers, directors, executive producers on these projects, and they really honed in on what made the MCU special at the start. But it's hard to say at this point. I do think that a lot of people are just kind of over the MCU, and there are always going to be diehard fans that will watch every single project. I mean, even I have been watching every single project because I like to talk about them online, but I do think that they are in for a very rough future going forward, and it really wouldn't be surprising to hear that Kevin Feige is planning a total reboot, but I just don't know if they could ever successfully go through with a reboot without infuriating fans of, let's just be honest, phases 1 to even phase 3. But that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comments section down below. If you enjoyed this and of course found it important and informative, make sure to give it a like, share it, and subscribe to the channel. And of course, if you didn't, make sure to give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I will talk to you all again in the next video really soon.